Hi, I'm Dr. Brian Wong, founder and CEO of the Bedside Trust. Welcome to video number 6. We've established we have seen a very familiar pattern that almost resembles what physicians might refer to as an across-the-room diagnosis. I've called this an across-the-country diagnosis. Chances are your organization suffers from this cycle of events as well. It begins first and foremost with way too much to do. Initiative overload. Hurry, 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 more, 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 and most notably, external factors beyond our control. You feel your plates are very full, you're putting out fires left and right, and in a lot of ways, the definition of putting out fires is what physicians might call treating just the symptoms. Because if we were better at preventing fires, we wouldn't have fires come up in the first place. In other words, if we could determine the root cause and treat the root cause, we would prevent the fires from coming up in the first place. We are just running around like chickens with our heads cut off with way too much to do. The second thing that happens is when people get so overwhelmed, some start showing up badly. Bad attitude, disrespect. That's not my patient. That's not my job. Negativity, whining, gossip, finger pointing, and blame. If you show up every day and you're always putting fires out and there's way too much to do and now you're surrounded by people showing up with bad attitude and disrespect, now it begins to be easy for you to just say to yourself, you know, it's every man for himself, every person for themselves. I'm just going to take care of myself. I'm going to just build some walls up. I'm just going to protect myself, protect my turf, protect my department, protect my people. And you have environments of self-protection, tribal warfare, silos, and all of this rugged individualism with a focus on autonomy. If you go on too long with way too much to do, people showing up badly, every man for himself, and even at every man for himself, you begin to find that you can't insulate yourself enough from what's going on in the environment. The next step after that is people start shutting down. They start saying, I'm done. I'm not going to do this or that anymore. I'm just going to go to my office and just take care of myself. Leave me alone. Or early retirements or resignations and out-migration from the community. So the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. We have this rinse and repeat cycle. Way too much to do, bad attitude and disrespect, every man for himself, and people shutting down. And this cycle just repeats over and over and over again. We see this cycle humming in the background of almost every hospital in the country. And we've created a name for this. We call it the cycle of distrust, the distrust cycle. And we spell distrust with a Y, because distrust to us is not just the absence of trust, it's all the dysfunctions we lay on top of it that compound it with the bad attitude, the disrespect, the every man for himself, and the shutting down. This cycle must be broken. This is the root cause, we think, of what is going on in the healthcare environment. Many of these things are self-inflicted. We're making it worse on ourselves with our own reactions to the stimuli. And when you think about the too much to do, where we're rushing around, what you could envision is that that is an absence of taking time to understand, to listen. We get too judgmental, we get too impatient, and we just race to solve, to treat symptoms. When you move into the aspect of bad attitude and disrespect, that's the absence of responsiveness and respect. When you move into every man for himself, that's a total breakdown in teamwork. And when we are shutting down, we build up walls, we become callous, we shut down, and we become unsafe. So in other words, another way to represent this cycle of distrust is that it's the absence of the top 4 attributes that define role clarity: an absence of understanding, an absence of respect, an absence of teamwork, and an absence of personal safety. The absence of those 4 things suggests to us that at the root of the cycle of distrust is a lack of role clarity, and therefore countermeasure number 1 must be to restore role clarity in an organization, beginning with the leaders. We've established already that when you establish role clarity, You are beginning to provide what matters most to patients, what matters most to physicians, and what matters most to everybody else. There is a way to do things differently, but it begins with us as leaders making a conscious choice, a conscious decision to start showing up differently. Instead of taking the bait, instead of falling in with everybody else into the bad attitude, disrespect, every man for himself, and shutting down, we must be better than that. We must be able to now to dedicate ourselves to this idea of being team players, responsiveness and respectful, understanding and safe, no matter what anybody else does in the environment. Because if we don't choose to do that, who else is going to lead the way? When we come back, I'll talk a little bit more about how we can leverage role clarity and the practice of patient-driven leadership into the most important element to follow, which is how we start solving problems collectively. Thank you.